Sam, you got to watch your back these days. Like, before you know it, Big Papa Wizards of the Coast is going to take a hit out on you.
Are you threatening me?
I heard you talking. Nah, you've been talking some mad shit. Been slinging some of those magic cards around.
Oh.
They got hired hitman, Sam.
Oh, they think I'm double dipping?
You might be double dipping, dude. You hear about the whole Pinkerton fucking thing? Dude, they fucking sent hired mercenaries to this YouTuber's house.
I did hear about that. Oh my god. I couldn't wait to talk about this.
Josiah, have you heard about that? Like, that's all over the news this week.
I have. It's pretty much everywhere on social media, especially Twitter.
They go for the, like, they didn't have to go straight mafioso, like, you come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding. Like, no, they didn't have to go straight for, like, okay, send in the big guns.
And what were they thinking?
I don't know, but I love it. I appreciate it. I'm so happy that they did, for as fucked as it is.
Why?
Because it's funny.
I mean, it is pretty funny.
I mean, who the fuck sends hired hitmen at anybody? Like Disney villains. Wizards of the Coast is the Disney villain that they've been accused of for the past 6 months. Like, it's so cartoonish.
They're the big bad the whole time.
The secret big bad. Wizards of the Coast customer service. I have that magic card, by the way. Yeah, that's a card. I mean, it's not word for word, but like, the ultimate nightmare of Wizards of the Coast, customer service. It's a legit card. Like, look it up. It's fantastic.
You'll have to put it in the show notes.
I guess so. But like, all I'm saying is, if it were me, like if I was the YouTuber, like all they would have had to do is just show up at my door and be like, yo, listen, we sent this shit to you by mistake. Let's grease some palms. Like, what's this worth to you? Like, I'm going to be counting, I'm going to be smacking down like little stacks of money till we find an appropriate amount, you know?
Oh, yeah, man. Do what you got to do.
I mean, if you're going to be a rich corporation, be a rich corporation.
Go big or go home.
Evidently.
Sorry to turn up my light.
Oh. With that, let's start the show. Welcome to Dungeons and Talkshows, the talk show that brings you monsters, news, and homebrews. I am your host, Orion.
And I am your host, Sam. Welcome back for this week.
Yeah, we missed a week, but more importantly, we have a very special Candyman with us today. Introduce yourself, my friend.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josiah of josiahsdoodles on Twitter, and I'm the Candyman.
The Candyman can.
Dude, when I was a kid, I used to listen to that on vinyl. Like, I'm not that old, I swear. A little vinyl record, be like, who can take a sunrise, sprinkle it with dew.
So we do understand that your foot is more set in the Pathfinder side.
Generally more Pathfinder. I was originally going to do 5e, but then I looked into Pathfinder more and then became interested in it. Seemed to fit what I was trying to do a little bit better. So I decided to make a Candyland campaign in Pathfinder.
Nice.
I love the idea. Like, not too long ago, like actually about 2 years ago, but I was getting ready to start my own campaign. And my old DM, I asked him to join us. Ultimately, he was unable to, because he's a forever DM, so entrenched in like his own rules because of how much of a forever DM he is. He can't really play other people's systems because like he started with 3.5 and then like integrated some Pathfinder First Edition, and then just went into a whole Forever DM rabbit hole of bastardizing everything and doing it his own way. His players love it, and he hasn't touched a D&D book in years.
Damn.
His current game's been going on for 3 years. Like I was talking to him earlier tonight.
Man,
Fantastic guy, though. Runs amazing games.
that is a DM's dream to have a 3-year.
Oh yeah, those long campaigns are definitely a wild ride.
Yeah. When I asked him to join, like initially the character concept he pitched to me was a Pact of Candy warlock.
That's an interesting one.
Interesting. Who was the patron?
Yeah.
Or what?
I would assume some kind of eldritch candy being.
Candy
like-
god.
The great eldritch god Wonka.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, like them eldritch beings, all they want to do is just rot the teeth out of your skull, and they need an acolyte to do so.
He is both sour
Absolutely.
and sweet.
But yeah,
As long as it's none of that Hershey shit, waxy fucking chocolate, trying to sell me on that. Fuck no.
That is, unless Hershey wants to sponsor us, then we love you and all of your projects.
honestly, that's the hardest part about making a campaign setting that is candy based, is because you can't use any brand names.
Oh
So you
yeah,
have to try to find ways to work around it.
you could do like
It's like you know what an Oreo is, but I can't call it an Oreo.
you ever watch Family Guy? You know how they have the Halloween episodes, and there's that scene where Stewie's like going through all the candy. He's like, got some Snickers, some Oreos.
Yeah, that's a thing. Because copyright, honestly, copyright is one of those things that kind of butchers the translation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, but is also kind of like a staple that kind of makes the series. You know what I mean? Like, it started one way, but now we almost look forward to the copyright bastardized versions of names of things.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell us more about your candy setting.
So the inspiration was definitely not just purely me. Like most people, probably the first thing if they saw my campaign setting, they would immediately think Dimension 20, because they had a Crown of Candy, which was basically Game of Thrones in a food world. So I saw the trailer of that, and I was about to plan a one-shot with some friends. And I was planning on trying to surprise them with something like wild, and I wanted to do basically like an isekai campaign where I basically just drop them into a weird world.
Right.
That campaign ended up getting canceled, and I just kept doing the idea because it was hilarious, and I had a lot of fun drafting up different candy gods and candy nations and this and that. And yeah, I kept going with it. Later on, watched Crown of Candy. Great show. Inspired me even more. I think they're actually about to have a new season coming up. But yeah, so it's like not purely my inspiration, but obviously very different from what they're going for with the Crown of Candy.
So it's a spark of inspiration, you know, like
Definitely.
they had their own little fire, the embers going all over the place, and then like that just got you going. Yeah.
Oh no, I remember watching the show later, and I was like, oh man, they did a cotton candy monk. Man, that's one of the first things I drew.
Uncanny Monk, I love it.
Yeah, but
it's so Adventure Time. In like that's the first place my mind kind of goes, like either Adventure Time or like the old Candyland movie that they had, where there's like a Duke of the Licorice or some bullshit, and they had the Licorice dude as a villain, and me being a kid that had grown up loving fucking black licorice, I was like, you dirty motherfuckers.
Well, every one of my friends, like, I made the licorice like nation pretty like neutral, but all my friends are immediately like, I hate licorice.
It's like, I get it, but I like black licorice like a lot.
But wait, why is this the perfect setting for like a flapjack campaign? Gotta get to Candy Island.
It is.
Well, that's the fun part about it, is because you can be as kind of goofy with it or as serious as you want.
So
and honestly, the serious parts are what make it funnier. Like, I make like a little quote in the book about, basically picture you're playing a campaign and you're in this dramatic scene where, you're trying to get revenge for this, wizard that sacrificed your love to an evil dark god. And then you sit back and you realize, like, my character's a gummy bear. Like,
there's a certain irony here that I absolutely love. You see, when you tell your players that you're going to run something, like, say you want to run Curse of Strahd, you're like, okay, we're going gritty, grim, dark, right? Like Grim Hollows, like if you ever see any of that stuff, right? Oh. And your players come to the table with just the goofiest fucking shit. Like, my brother came to our table in our Grim Hollow game with a fucking isekai dude from space Mexico with a backstory involving space Mexican hippos.
I mean, wacky stuff is honestly sometimes the most fun.
Exactly. So, like, with your setting, it does the inverse, and I think inherently, like you said, that does make it funnier, because you're going into a situation where it's like, it's a goofy setting. There's not much they can do to make it goofier, so the only way to do that is to get serious.
I think the hardest part is, though, that as I played it for some friends and DM'd for them, I realized there's a lot of little things that I need to add in the book that you don't think about until you play a setting like this. Like coming up with random fantasy foods and dishes or drinks. It's like, okay, what's a drink? What's an alcoholic beverage in a candy world? How do you describe the tavern? Like, what are the philosophical questions of what things are made out of? Like, I had a friend, we were doing a session where I was basically hinting at like a sort of cotton candy spider that would spin that kind of like cotton candy webs. And he got this little like drift of cotton candy on the wind. And he I described it as kind of this wisp webby type thing. And the first thing he asked is like, I don't know how to ask this, but is this a person? Is this a thing? Like, so it ended up getting to a bit of a philosophical debate on what things are.
I think that's amazing, really, because there's a lot of improv potential, but I guess you're right. Like, there some things you don't really think about until someone's like, hey, what about this thing? It's like, shit, you're right.
I mean, I'm probably going to add a little section in the book, because I even got into like late night talks with friends of mine discussing this stuff early on before I even decided to like make this a project. But like thinking about like how, people are, we're made out of, bones, tissue, etc. And we eat like cows and stuff, and they're also made out of bones, tissue, and stuff. It's just a little different. But essentially the same thing. So it's like, okay, if I'm a caramel person and I'm eating a caramel cow of some sorts or something like that, it's generally the same thing, kind of.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah. So it could be different from like maybe like a gummy person, eating like a licorice tree or
like
something.
A part of me was just, I put a note in the book that's basically like, don't take it too seriously. Like, you can if you want to, if that makes it fun, but you don't have to at all.
What is cannibalism like in this one?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think at that point, like, some required, I get not exactly required reading, but you know what I mean? Like, have the players that have never seen Adventure Time at least skim a couple seasons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I definitely had a few friends of mine that were inspired by Adventure Time.
If they've never seen Adventure Time, you could just steal the plot of Adventure Time.
Exactly.
Yes, have a candy lich.
They'll never know.
Yeah. No, one of the first terms I thought of when I was drafting stuff with friends is a chocolich.
Chocolich, I love it.
Too good. Too good.
It is.
Please
Like,
tell me you
I
made
think-
it.
Oh no, that's gonna be one of the first like monsters I make
Hell
when I'm
yeah.
at the bestiary port.
Fantastic.
Yeah, if you did not do that, I think we'd have to talk to Wizards of the Coast and get them to send their mercs at you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This guy officer, get him.
That's him. He didn't make a chocolich. Ooh, you know, it's a great spot to look for those kind of names. Have you ever played Viva Pinata?
What is that?
I've heard about it, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, so my wife is really into this game, and it came out in like the early 2000s. You get a garden, and like it's a candy-ish kind of world like that. And these pinatas live on the island, and you cultivate the garden, and you can attract certain pinatas. And all of the pinata names are kind of puns in the same way that what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, the puns are half the fun.
Yeah, like a surapent, like it's like, oh, it's a little pinata snake.
Yep.
Or like
A snake.
like
Not
a
gonna lie, I'm
sparrow mint. So it's like a little mint, like a little sparrow.
I love the idea of like a Bard College of Candy or something, you know? Like the
Oh, yeah.
the ability to create, you know, constructs of candies. Just you can do so many different things. It sounds so fun.
Yeah. I mean, the funnest part is definitely like world building, like all the different
Candy
nations
wizard.
and this and that, and getting into like politics and all. And it's like, wait a minute, these are candy people. But the politics makes sense.
Candy politics.
Oh yeah. Like you go in like, oh, this nation over here had a crusade against these ones. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, racism against the sour people.
Oh, there's definitely room for all sorts of crazy stuff.
Get out of
Obviously,
here, sour.
Like, well, when I was doing
Yeah.
it for 5e, I was planning on making sour basically where like your passive perception, people always just seem like you're pissed off. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that'll translate into 2e yet. I'm gonna make a sour like versatile heritage.
Man, my girlfriend would
You
love
can-
this.
Yeah.
I haven't touched Pathfinder since first edition. Do they still have the those like quirks and traits?
I'm not as sure. I never touched 1e. I mostly got into like 2e around the time that probably most people that are recent converts did from like the OGL stuff and all that, and that's where I first heard about it.
Okay.
Looked into it.
Well, in first edition, what they would do is like you would get a you'd get a trait, and it's like it'll be like a very minor feature,
Mhm.
and then it would also come with a minor flaw to accompany it. I feel like that would fall under that umbrella.
I don't know if they still have that. Like generally, from what I've like seen so far, when obviously making your character, you'll pick your heritage, ancestry, and all that kind of stuff, and you'll pick different like feats related to them. I think the only like flaws are generally like stat based from what I can gather. But definitely plenty of options for character customization, which is one of the reasons I chose it. Mainly because I was planning on doing it in 5e, but I would have had to like homebrew a lot of like character creation stuff because of that. But yeah,
Fair
it's
enough.
definitely a fun system so far from what I've played.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'd be gung ho to try it out because I know the action economy functions the same way that the Ruby tabletop that we've been playing does.
Yeah, like
it's basically the same.
Yeah, definitely like 3 action economy takes a little bit to get used to, but once you do, it makes sense and it flows pretty well. I think the thing that I like the most about it is it's fairly like game master friendly. A lot of since the math is pretty tight, you can predict things a little bit more. For instance, I'm finishing up a 5e campaign with some friends, and DMing for them, and they're only level 2 right now. But the trickiest part of the math is at level 2 in 5e, you could have one character that has +3 to hit, and you can have another that has +9 to hit. And that makes it very hard to balance, at least early on.
Yeah.
Where in 2e, generally you can pick a set of monsters and it'll match the difficulty fairly accurately, which is nice.
So for maybe players who haven't touched Pathfinder or maybe regular D&D, how difficult would you say it translates?
If you know 5e, honestly, you probably know 80% of Pathfinder. I remember I was reading through the book and it was just little small rules here and there. I was like, oh, that's different. Oh, that's a little different. But the general core gameplay is pretty much this. If you know D&D, it's easy transition. For a new player, might be intimidating just with the amount of options, but there's a lot of resources out there, like Path Builder and things like that, where you can just, it's like a character creator, makes it much easier to choose things. There's obviously plenty of videos out there.
Nice.
But yeah, I feel like Pathfinder is nice when you've played 5e a lot and you're just looking for a little bit more to it. It's I have a lot of friends that have been playing 5e for years, and we're just looking for something different because we know everything the back of our hands by this point.
Yeah. Just something that you can't break right off the bat.
Well, my friends definitely like to break things when I'm the GM.
I could say the same.
Yeah.
Every time you think you can predict what they're gonna do, they do the opposite.
Look, I am currently running a Grim Hollows game, and Orion is our wizard. And let's just say he's a creative one.
All the hijinks.
Oh,
and wizards definitely have the tools to be up to all sorts of shenanigans.
It's my first time playing a wizard, actually.
Oh, man.
I love casters, but I've just never got around to playing a proper wizard. So I'm going all in.
I might be right there with you, actually. I think I've played Sorcerer, Warlock, Druid, I might have not played a wizard either, honestly. I feel like I have, but I don't think I have.
It's weird, because if you're really into casters, you'd think that wizard would be your top choice, but at the end of the day, I look at it myself and I'm like, I've played sorcerers a lot. I like sorcerer. It's one of my favorite classes. And some artificer and cleric. Because the first few games I got into, I was forced to play cleric.
Yeah.
I think
that was back in 4th edition.
Wizard, I think, is just nice just from the variety of spells. I remember when I was trying to figure out what classes I wanted to play, I would look at wizard and I'd just see all these unique spells to them. I think one is contingency, I believe, where it's you just cast this at a time, and once a prerequisite is made, it casts the spell, which leads to all sorts of shenanigans.
I love contingency. I haven't gotten it to it yet, but I just like planning for things. Sam knows this, because I'll be planning for stuff. He's like, oh, fuck, I was going to do this thing.
Yeah.
I feel like wizards are the one that at high level games are the ones that like to break everything. You see all these Reddit posts of oh, I make a demi-plane and I stuff a simulacrum in it and I duplicate this and that, and by the time I'm done I have 1,000 clones or something.
Jesus.
Yeah, I feel like if someone's doing that actively, dude, show me on this doll, where did the DM hurt you?
I mean, some people just want to see the imaginary world burn.
Yeah, it's like when you have a necromancer and they want to have 1,000 army of skeletons.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But I've seen that done in a fun way before.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a whole post and like a long explanation where someone effectively made a Turing machine, which is a rudimentary computer with a hollowed out mountain and skeletons.
Oof.
Yeah, I think like anything, it just depends on like how you go about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Apparently you can do that in Magic too.
That is one area I have not dived into. I have many friends that are magic people.
I would
I've
say
not
stay
gone
out
that
while you
route.
can.
I plan on it. I don't have enough time as it is.
Yeah, you're out. Don't. That's what I tell people about League of Legends. Like, if you're not already in, stay out while you can.
I have heard the same there, and I will not tread in that territory.
Yeah. It keeps itself.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, Sam, tell us about this week's monster.
Oh, yes, that is a good marking for time. Oh, let me see. Sorry, I'm cracking like an old man. So, this week's monster is a old classic. You know, everyone's heard of this. Everyone loves dragons. What about the little baby cousin? The only wings, only legs, stinger tail old boys, you know? I'm talking about a wyvern today. Get with the program, you know?
Oh, I thought you were just like a Stormfly from like How to Train Your Dragon. Isn't that what that one is?
Basically.
You know, the one the blonde bitch rides.
Call her a bitch.
Yeah, you know.
I do believe that one is a wyvern, yes.
Is that how they name their Viking children? You got left nut, right nut. You got blonde bitch. You got hiccup. You know.
Oh man.
Am I wrong?
I will plead the fifth on this one. All right, so.
All right.
For the people who don't know what wyverns are, you know, it's okay to be a little dragon inclined. You know, we're inclusive on this show. We love all people. So I will educate you on what these bad boys look like. So wyverns were a large winged lizard, distantly related to the dragon with a poisonous stinging tail and sharp teeth. According to the Forgotten Realms, these creatures varied in length from 15 to 35 feet, 4.1 to 11 meters, weighed around a ton, and were covered in dark brown or gray scales. They typically had either red or orange eyes, and their jaws were filled with long and sharp teeth. Unlike true dragons, wyverns only had a pair of hind legs instead of a set of 4. Their wingspan could get over 50 feet, 15 meters in length, and their tails were often quite long, comprising about half of their bodies, yet staying very mobile. So the tails ended in a thick cartilage knot with a stinger protruding out of it. Not unlike that of a scorpion, telltale sounds that these creatures produced included loud hisses and throated growls, similar to the vocalizations of alligators.
Do you think they taste like gator? Like, you know, clearly these things are like related to chickens in some way because they got like the same build as a chicken.
They do kind of, yeah. They're very chickeny.
Yeah, very chicken-ish. Like if chickens got combined with fucking scorpions.
Yeah. Josiah, are you familiar with wyverns?
I am. I have definitely seen them in all sorts of video games and TTRPGs over the years.
Yeah, they're everywhere. I thought it would be kind of fun to do a light subject this week.
Oh, no,
and I do. We're kind of cruising through the dragon ranks. You know, at this point we've done Dragon Turtle. Did we do Drake yet? No, I don't think so, right?
Not yet.
Right. I think this is our second dragon one.
Drakes, you got worms, all sorts of things.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. All right, so getting to the ecology here. The first depiction of a wyvern has been lost to history. It is clear from bestiaries and alchemy texts that these little dragons were well known throughout Europe as early as the medieval period in the 5th century AD. Some scholars have speculated that the wyvern may have sprung from Roman war banners, which would have been seen by the early Europeans when Rome's conquering forces began to spread north. This idea is supported by the fact that the etymology of the word wyvern can be traced back through French to the Latin word vipera, which have been used by the Romans. Vipera meaning viper. Yeah.
I like to I personally love to believe, like, I'm not going to say that it's necessarily true, but I just love to believe that, like, dragons and wyverns were real at one point, but just got hunted to extinction. And due to, having to have, like, a certain qualities to be able to fly at that size, like, a lot of their stuff, like, their bones and shit would have to be hollowed out, so they wouldn't be able to, like, necessarily leave much for fossilization, So I like to think that it's like, okay, they were just hunted the fuck out of extinction.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. You can go ahead and finish.
I'm just saying, like, there's dragon type shit all over the planet, yet we don't see any dragons today. Clearly, there's something there. Kind of like how, like, every human civilization builds a pyramid at some fucking point.
They all got the idea from somewhere. A lot of like archaeologists and researchers think that some dragons or some dinosaurs could have actually been dragons, and things like the wings and the tails and stuff like that just didn't keep their shape in the fossilization.
Oh, so I wonder if that's where some of the mythology came from. Somebody saw like T-Rex bones and was like, "What is that?"
Yeah, definitely could have been.
I don't know where I read or heard it exactly, but I remember having a long conversation with somebody about how carbon dating there's a limit on how accurate it is. Like, there's straight like fossilized objects that have been made over the course of the last 100 years, like a mining helmet with a light on it. And they carbon dated it to be like 65 million years old or some shit, or 1,000 years old. I don't exactly remember what it was, but like the carbon dating was like stupid old, but like it's a fucking mining helmet. You look at it, you're like, no, that was made in the last 100 years, but fossilized.
I have no idea.
I do enjoy quite a conspiracy. So you've piqued my interest with that. All right, moving back on.
Definitely something to look into.
So wyverns were aggressive and not greatly intelligent. They were not averse to attacking anything less powerful than themselves. Their sleek, strong legs proved very useful for an attack. When fighting, these creatures would dive down from above, grabbing prey with their hind leg claws, and then attempt to sting them to death. They were also known to slash at creatures with the claws mid-flight. Their tails were so long that opponents were typically struck by a wyvern's tail before their legs.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So like, just get like right in there.
Wyverns can be both solitary and group animals. They did not have a strong odor, although their lairs often could be tracked by following the smell of their recent kills. And I did see, while I was reading up about them, that their toxins from their stingers apparently stink and will kind of kill the local like vegetation and stuff like that.
So I guess that leaves me with one question. Is it a poison or is it a venom?
It's a poison, I think.
Oh, okay, because like that's a very key distinction. Like, you can ingest a venom, but you can't ingest poison.
Yeah, because it's being injected, it's a poison. I guess it would be a toxin, which I guess is the same.
I don't know. I think venom is when they like bite or sting.
Hold on.
Poison is where it's like through skin and stuff like that, or inhaled. But it's always one of those.
Yeah, right. Poison is ingestion. Venomous is like injection.
Something that I always forget.
Somebody fact check us. That was for stupid. It's fine.
Hey, maybe that's how like the whole fucking Napoleon surviving a big poisoning thing happened. Like, he just gets himself like a whole cup full of venom, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go kill myself now." It downs the whole thing, perfectly fine, maybe a little bit of diarrhea, and it's just like, oh, I guess I'm immortal now. Like, no, motherfucker. Yeah, that shit's supposed to be injected to kill you. You just drank it.
I wonder, I'm sure you can't just drink
I
like
think
venom.
it's still
though.
toxic to you.
Yeah, I don't
But
think you can just
maybe
drink.
Yeah.
it's just not as much. I don't know.
I think it affects you differently when you ingest it.
Mhm.
I
Like,
think it's
I'm fairly certain you'd get
Because,
some serious
like,
diarrhea.
Snakes are
You know,
venomous. They're not poisonous.
It's not
But like a
something I gotta test.
mushroom is poison. It's not venomous.
I am all aboard for venomous mushrooms.
Honestly, right?
oh, God.
Like, you just walk by and a mushroom bites your heel.
That would
Be
be a scary world.
terrifying. That would be really scary.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I'm pretty sure that's how Achilles died. Like, you know, the Trojan War, and then he got bit by a mushroom.
Rest in peace.
I mean, that kind of stuff is basically why I would never want to live in like an actual D&D world. Like, everything's dangerous. I'd be a peasant. Everything would kill you.
You can just hire people to do the adventuring for you. If they come back alive, cool. But make sure that you don't pay up front.
I don't know, man.
That way you're never out on your
I've
deposit.
seen how much like a peasant makes in D&D versus how much gold adventurers make. Like,
Maybe like get like an adventurer cousin.
there you go.
So, cloud giants were known to keep griffins, prairtons, and wyverns, akin to what humans did with hawks and other birds of prey. These tamed wild creatures could often be encountered patrolling the cloud giants' gardens, together with other tamed predators like owlbears, dragons, griffins. Predators like owlbears. Dragons, griffins, and wyverns had a fierce rivalry over hippogriff meat. Manticores, chimeras, griffins, prairtons, and wyverns were territorial rivals. So I did read that wyverns are often tamed by, giants and wizards and stuff like that.
So it's like falconry.
Yeah, they can be used for pretty much anything.
And it's like, they're the size of a falcon compared to a giant. So they're just like, oh, hey, this is my little pet wyvern.
Yeah, you can sit on their shoulder. Like,
Gotta get the special glove for it.
Yeah, I think it was pretty cool. So moving on to the modern wyvern here. Wyverns have been fleshed out in modern fantasy media as a separate species. As mentioned, they are typically weaker, smaller, and less intelligent in comparison to the modern dragon, overall having animalistic tendencies and serving as apex predators. Wyverns are also commonly, although not universally, associated with poison, which is usually shown through having a poisonous stinger at the end of the tail. They may or may not have had a breath weapon. Though I know in the D&D books they don't have a breath weapon.
Oh, definitely.
But in lore they don't know. So additionally, a new classification of the wyvern, the pseudo-wyvern, which are wyverns that use their wings as forelegs, has been coined by fans of Monster Hunter. The term, however, remains primarily used only in the Monster Hunter fan base. So, for example, I am a huge Monster Hunter fan. So, I can give a few examples. So, like, Tigrex is a perfect example of a pseudo-wyvern because he doesn't really fly. He just kind of, on his front legs.
Yeah, like a pseudo wyvern, isn't that kind of like what a lot of the dragons in Skyrim might be categorized as?
No, they are regular wyverns because they fly.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So it's the lack of flight is the deciding factor. Okay, cool.
So dragons depicted with 2 legs as opposed to 4 have become more common toward the end of the 20th century, and especially in the 21st. Mainstream fantasy series such as Harry Potter, Elder Scrolls, Game of Thrones all depict such dragons. While reason to this in general is uncertain, cases where the design choice is explained by their respective creators often point them aiming for a sense of realism. Examples of this reasoning include, how do I say this? Verminthrax, pejorative from Dragon Slayer, and the dragons in Game of Thrones.
Okay, that's I want to correct you, but I'm not a Game of Thrones person.
I have no idea.
I am not to that level.
Yeah, me either. I don't even know what
Oh well.
player is, but it sounds cool.
Well, I will say one thing on Game of Thrones. Like I like Peter Dinklage. Like any clip with Dinklage in it is just like he walks in like he fucking like just an absolute boss, just a real menace, and I love it.
The actors were pretty much great in the whole series. Like I remember thinking to myself when I was watching, they have the character for Joffrey, and I saw like the character out of the show in like an interview, and I just still had this feeling of like, oh, I hate that guy, even though he's like the nicest person ever because he was that good of an actor.
I know, right? It's like the guy that plays Malfoy in Harry Potter. Like that guy has to live his life being hated by like random women that can't tell the difference between real life and Harry Potter.
Oh no. Tragic.
Definitely nice people though from what I've seen.
And then the other half is just like all the women that fetishize the character.
They do love some Draco.
Yeah, like there's so much Draco fanfic, and I'm just like, what?
I wonder if their family is like represented after like a dragon or like a wyvern.
the real Malfoy questions.
Yeah, so let's get into their stats and abilities here.
Ooh.
So in the D&D books, they are a large dragon and they are considered unaligned. They have a strength of 19, dexterity of 10, constitution of 16, intelligence of 5, wisdom of 12, and a charisma of 6. And they are a CR6 monster.
So they're borderline able to talk.
Yeah, they can speak Draconic, but very base intelligence. Like, you know. Like smart for a basic like animal, but you know, only because they're a dragon.
Fair enough. I once made an entire thing. I have yet to implement it in a game, but it's a wyvern that gets infected with lycanthropy and becomes a were-human. And then its human side causes it to want to start its own cult in Empire. So it just proceeds to create a pyramid scheme. And the pyramid scheme is just a whole bunch of lycanthropes. So it's like, oh, at the very bottom tier of our pyramid scheme, you earn the ability to become a were-rat. And as you climb up the ranks, you'll get cured of your previous lycanthropy and become something better, like a were-tiger, a were-bear, a were-boar. And then eventually, like, the unobtainable goal is to become a were-dragon, which it has convinced everybody that it's a were-dragon with its hybrid form.
I can see that.
It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, you just real widespread everywhere. The cult continues to grow in the background of your campaign. And then by the time they get to the end of it, it's just like, oh, although this wyvern lycanthrope is strong, like at the end of it, it's just like, oh, it was really just for trying to run a business because its human greed took over its wyvernness.
I wonder what a dragon would think of a wyvern. I think they would consider them like chickens, like animals, basically.
Probably.
I think that's the consensus. Like they don't like them.
Yeah, they'd be like they're just like savage animals. Like,
I mean, dragons are very intelligent in games, so probably.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because then I wonder what would a wyvern think of like a dragonborn.
I'd probably think that a wyvern might see a dragonborn and be like, the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, like, what are you supposed to be?
While a dragon looking down at a wyvern just like knock it aside, the same as kicking a puppy, you know?
Oh, yeah, true though.
It's like realistically you shouldn't be kicking puppies, but like the dragons don't give a fuck.
It's so true. All right, so to finish up this abilities, they are fairly basic, nothing too special. They do have multi-attack, bite, claw attack, but their stinger is pretty interesting. It does 7d6 poison damage with a DC 15 Constitution save.
All right, that's not bad for a poison.
76 is not bad at all. But yeah, that's pretty much it for a wyvern. So that brings us to our fight score. Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh.
We need a sound clip.
Josiah. We really do. We've been putting it off for too long. So, Josiah, what do you, if you had to fight a wyvern in real life, do you think you could take it?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Like scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like kick a puppy to 10 being oh fucking no.
Oh, like easy, like wipe.
Yeah.
I'd be absolutely
backwards.
doomed.
Yeah, a wyvern would wipe. It's just like a regular person.
I would say that for me, yeah, I would have to. If it swoops down and it's just like, okay, let's fucking go. I'm probably gonna get wiped because that tail. Because that's like a scorpion that like bam.
It'll whip it
You
around.
ain't dodging that.
I mean, if I can't take on a bear,
Yeah, like it'll distract you by being all up in your
They're
face.
fairly large. I mean, compared to like a regular person.
if I can't take on a bear, I can't take on a wyvern.
Yeah, there's no chance.
I think if I was able to like plan ahead and try to track one down, like maybe I could prep something, find a way to like incapacitate the tail, maybe. But like it's still a wyvern. That's a big ask. Like I don't like it's a large size creature. That's like fighting a fucking Clydesdale. That's a horse.
A flying horse with a scorpion.
Yeah,
that'll probably kill you all in one stab. Like
I would have to have like a ridiculously good shield and like maybe a good sword. So like but odds are I'd probably get knocked to the side with that strength.
There's no chance.
I'm gonna say that's an 8 out of 10.
8.
Yeah, like it'd be I think that there's a very slim chance
All right.
that I could get lucky if I had prep time.
All right. With the exclusion of prep time, sure. I give it like a 9 if we're including prep time. Because even then, I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty fun to think about, I think.
It really is. Like mostly with like smaller monsters.
Yeah, things that are a little
It's like
more reasonable.
It's not like one of the old monsters that we talked about where it's like, okay, my plan is like if I'm attacked in the middle of the day, just go to my car, rip out the car battery, and get the jumper cables.
Wait, which one? Oh, for that when we did the gelatinous cube one.
Yeah, like okay, get.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, with 2 car batteries, I can weld, so I figure that's
Start slurping.
Yeah, I figure that's enough to get something going, and like jellies, like electrolytes,
Yeah, man.
probably.
I would get the local elderly together, give them a bunch of spoons. Tell them to go to town.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
So, Josiah, do you have any like candy monsters that you throw at players, like a candy wyvern?
I had a few different ones. A lot of them in my personal campaign was just off the cuff stuff, because I haven't gotten to the point where I'm doing a lot of bestiary stuff yet. Like I have notes jotted down from when I was playing. I was like, oh, that'd be a good idea. This would be a good idea. But a lot of it was revamping existing stuff for the time being. Definitely have a bunch of ideas, though.
Okay. Before we
Fair enough. I mean,
go ahead and finish your thought.
well, I'm just thinking like you can definitely like, no pun intended, but maybe it's intended now. That just re-flavor.
Oh yeah.
Most
I've
monsters.
definitely made that joke
Yeah.
too many times.
There's a candy wizard on the loose, turning monsters into candy.
I don't know. I think that's why I like.
No, even worse. He's turning candy into monsters.
That's like one of the last monsters I was like playing around with before I ended up converting. I was doing like Oreo. So I was like, okay, I can do that because that's not trademarked.
Oreo.
That's not copyrighted.
Oh, I love it.
Mm,
That's good. That's good.
that's brilliant.
Oh man. But all right, I think that's a good time to head us into our intermission. Go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break.
All right.
Ryan, play the
Now.
track.
Ahoy there! Yes, you! The one wearing the limited edition, nerdy franchise-related shirt. Do you like meeting in taverns with names like the Leaky Wench and the Wounded Willie? Do you regularly spend time with unintelligent barbarians or antisocial rogue assassins? And do you have a friend who always insists on being DM and making you last in initiative because you forgot to take snacks? Then you're in the right place. Join Sam and Orion every week for Dungeons and Talkshows, where they'll have monster deep dives, special guests, and spotlight homebrew creations made by the community. The boys are here to educate and entertain in all areas of role-playing games. Whether you're a new player or a hardened veteran, we are your people. Even the unintelligent, morons, and dunderheads can all enjoy and learn from our discussions. So come and join us on Dungeons and Talkshows on YouTube and all the usual podcasting apps. You won't regret it. But then again, we're nerds, so what do we know?
Ahoy, hoy, nerds! You're listening to Dungeons and Talkshows with Sam and Orion.
And we're back. I'm sorry, I had.
That was a good one. It was good use of it.
Yeah. I got my soundboard expanded. It was just random. Like they're like, hey, you use our soundboard a lot. Here, have 5 more slots.
Nice.
Cool.
We'll have to make good use of them.
I'm certainly planning to. But the Laffy Taffy I'm feeling is really good. Yeah, you know what? Have you considered candy drops?
I have definitely considered it for home game. I have not considered it for my book yet.
Well, there's a homebrew that I've used in games. Sam's familiar with it.
Auntie Bobbles.
Yeah, yes, Auntie Bobble. One of these days, I'll make it fully available to our patrons and everything.
Why did you call them drugs like that? They're candies.
Because the Auntie Bobble's magic candies are addictive.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And the higher grade the candy, the longer lasting the effect, and the higher the addictive dose. Which makes it.
Not endorse drugs.
Here in Dungeon and Talk Shows, Sam does not endorse drugs. Remember, kids, stay in school. You'll have more money for drugs. But it's true. But essentially, how the Auntie Bobble thing works is like you got this crotchety old lady. She's evil, probably like a demigod or some shit. And she's got a candy shop that will show up in random locations in the game. Mm-hmm. Right? And these candies are, each tier is based off of a different coin in the currency that you're using. Like, you know, copper, silver, gold, plat, like that. I assume that Pathfinder has the same gold money system to a degree. And so the copper ones have like cantrip level effects that are instant. Like maybe your hair changes color for a minute, or you're all of a sudden all your breath is candy and you're just like spewing out like cotton candy everywhere, or like your smoke just starts coming out of your ears, or you become yellow. Innocuous little things.
Simpson character.
Exactly. But as you go up in level, like every time someone takes one of these, they have to make a con save. So it takes a couple doses of the copper ones before they actually have to make a save. But as you go up, the effects last longer and longer. Like silver, it's 1d4 plus 1 for how many minutes it'll last. And then for gold, it'll be like the same but for hours. I mean, no, it's hours for silver, minutes for copper, and days for gold.
And then
the
right?
Yeah, it's permanent for platinum.
Those were fun.
Yeah, the platinum stuff will give you ridiculous things like a 3-foot pocket dimension in your nose, or like
yes.
things you need.
yeah, it happened to his character.
Yeah, I was playing a Dragonborn Warlock at the time, and I had a pocket dimension in my nose.
The caveat is he could smell everything inside it. I remember that the bard had the amazing luck of rolling to grow an extra appendage, to which I further rolled to see which appendage he would grow. And of course, the bard ended up going around for like 4 days as Johnny Two Dicks. Anyway, the candies have like good effects and bad effects, but they're all addictive, and the withdrawal symptoms will result in a random effect.
Oh yeah, wasn't there we had a player that changed races?
Yes, the race change kind of upset that player, so that player had to go out of his way to get his character back to being tiefling rather than Duergar, which was kind of fun. Like, yeah, it was a big change. Like, they had to take a ship to get from that island next city, and once they got there, that player had to go on their own side quest to get a cure.
Man, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, consequences of your actions.
The irony is he was the one character that was not participating in the candy things up until like before going to bed. He's like, oh, I'll just try one and go to bed. Wakes up as a different race. Yeah, like I think it's a lot of fun because like you can get the Auntie Bobble. She'll sell candies that neutralize the effects and everything, but she doesn't tell the players that she sells them at all. They'll be like off to the side, kind of like
you have to ask for them.
Yeah, you have to ask for them. So like the first time the players meet her, like they won't even know.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
I always found that it's a kind of a fun thing.
For our DMs out there, make use of this. Very, very fun tool.
Well, the DM that introduced it to me, like, he was just making up effects right on the spot. Like, my party at the time when I was in a Auntie Bobble encounter, they forced a candy into my character's mouth, and he ended up growing these big-ass silver wings. Ooh. And anytime somebody would pluck one of the feathers, even if I did it to myself, they would take a D4 of electric damage.
Nice.
It was interesting.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Sometimes you get good effects, sometimes you get bad effects.
That's half the fun.
Love the randomness of it. So you mentioned the news that that's been going on a little bit lately, but I think now is a good time for you to properly introduce us to what's been going on.
Well, okay, first off, Critical Role has officially announced, and well, it's been announced for a while, but there's been some major progress with their new RPG, which is going to be a direct competitor to D&D. Right. And I think that's kind of exciting because you can't beat the marketing power that Critical Role has with their podcast.
Right. And they have a lot of stuff going on. They have the Midst thing. Marisha just finished her fight, I believe. I don't think she won, but I did see some clips and it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing some great things lately.
Yeah, they definitely have.
For me,
You go ahead. What were you gonna say?
now the question is, oh no, the question is if they're going to use this new setting in campaign 4.
I hope so.
I believe they are. That's what I
I-
heard the plan was.
I mean, they definitely hinted at it. I think I remember they had an interview with Linda Codega, maybe like a couple months ago. And basically said, if they met the right people and then they had the right design and it made sense for the type of show we were doing. Which I was like, seems like they're looking for something to fit their
and
show.
I can't wait for the
Question is whether...
sorry, go ahead.
I don't know, I was just going to say the question depends on if they're going to ease into it or if they're just going to go full force.
I do feel that. Yeah, I can't wait for the future for when, we get the show for the Mighty Nine and
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then, eventually for Bill's Hells, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, that's the only one that I've actually kept up with to at least a degree. I kind of fell off after a while because not working as much, and when you're not working and you do podcast when you're working, it's like why bother when you're at home, because you're out of the flow, you're out of the routine.
Hey, look, with the family you have, we all know how much time you have to listen to podcasts and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, usually for me I just have something on in the background if I'm drawing or something, just because it's a little bit easy to listen to.
Speaking of which, I love your art. It's just so whimsical.
I do too. I really like it. It gives
thank you.
Like a Pendleton Ward, Rebecca
I think
Sugar.
that's half the fun.
Kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's half the fun. It's just wacky designs. Like thinking of how you would do armor for something that is like a donut.
How did you
That is
come up with
challenging.
your style?
I mean, it's just something that kind of just developed over time. It started with like a few sketches for my friends in that little one-off campaign, and then I kind of kept doing it, and then I tried to do a consistent way about it so they all like kind of fit the same vibe. And I've got it pretty much down to a science now, but obviously it'll keep changing over time.
Yeah.
But definitely fun.
It's amazing watching artists kind of like grow over the course of their career. Like, have you two ever read Bleach?
I've seen and read a little bit here and there.
Well, like,
He got
yeah, like the very first volume versus like 20 volumes later is very, very different. It's just, I love it.
Especially for some of those artists that have been doing it for like 20 years.
Yeah, the style development is just, it's amazing to watch, because like as an audience, or like just when you're following an artist, you get to see them grow with what they're doing. It's just you look at that, it's like, that's him. That's my boy. He's been at it this whole time, and I watched him blossom.
Like, honestly, that's probably the hardest thing about like the whole project, is just the amount of like drawings to do. Like right now, I think I'm at like 172 pages. Most of them have like something on them. A good bit of them have multiple drawings on them, and that is a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't. From what I've seen of your work, it doesn't seem like there's much that you could do what I do when I draw. Like, I kind of like take a picture that I find that's got a good pose, and I'll use that as like the bones for what I'm doing, and then like I'll just do the rest. Because I used to draw a lot, but now I don't draw as much. So with the thanks to layers and a tablet, it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna pop that on the bottom layer, get the bare bones for what I'm going for, and then just go for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely having like some references for some harder poses and things like that is helpful, because when you draw a lot, you try to vary things up, and then you hit some positions and things, and you're like, I've never drawn this before. I have to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, like just sometimes, although you can have an idea, it's just like it's almost like a mental barrier to drawing something. Like, oh, I just don't know. And it can be difficult.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I've never been good with hands, so it's like you kind of like draw your way around that stuff.
The bane of all artists.
That's because nobody's good with hands.
Yeah.
Like, you get better with time, but even still, like, even my most recent drawings, I'm like, I hate these things.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, I try to avoid the classic art thing of making your characters put your hands in the pockets.
Just hide them.
I used to do that all
They
the
don't
time.
exist.
Yep. That used to be the go-to. And then you realize, like, all my characters have their hands in their pockets.
I can't hide them forever.
It's true. Like, eventually it catches up with you, and it's like, what you gonna do?
And then before you know it, people are asking you, how come your characters have no hands? And you're like, they lost them all in the war.
Exactly.
They can't be the answer for every character.
Unless there's maybe a hand thief.
Sometimes the one nice thing is...
Yeah, we got a serial hand thief on the loose.
The hand bandit.
That just makes me think of like Home Alone. It's like, listen, Marv, we gotta have a gimmick, or when we break into these houses, we'll be the hand bandits.
Steal the kids' hands.
We'll steal the kids' hands, Marv. You won't be able to call the cops without hands.
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna lie, like, I became an adult and I looked at that movie and I was like, the Wet Bandits is even worse because that's a lot of water damage. Like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, so it's,
Like,
it's next level.
I'm like, these guys are just jerks.
Kind of fucked up, yeah, right?
Like, man.
And then, like in Home Alone 2, they tried to rebrand as the Sticky Bandits.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The other thing is when you grow up, you're like, these people would have been dead from every single trap.
Oh
There's-
yeah.
There's no way someone can take a paint can to the head
Yeah,
after being swung on like a rope. off
yeah.
the
These
banister.
men are just built
Not a thing.
different.
Built different.
It's like later on, the military has to take some blood samples for their super soldier program, but all their super soldiers turn out dumb.
They all want to start a crime business.
That's the prequel.
Oh, that'd be great.
They've escaped from a secret government facility.
Oh, we need some Home Alone lore. Preferably
Oh,
something
man.
that doesn't get children like myself covering the entire house with toilet paper and calling it a trap.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Did you actually do that?
yes.
Oh,
I absolutely did that. No wet bandits are going to get in my house. Can't touch my sink if you're covered in toilet paper, motherfucker.
Oh my god. I love it. Is that all the news we have for this week?
No. So also Kobold Press is I guess they're kind of like selling off a bunch of shit as their warehouse is closing. So everything's got to go. They're 50% off all their books and stuff. Which
Free shit alert?
not quite. That's like half off.
Ah,
The free shit alert's something different this time.
close. Almost free shit alert.
It's like 50% off alert, I guess. They're also putting a 50% off on up until the 30th, which is tomorrow. This was a note from last week. We missed last week because of travel and stuff. But a couple of their books on their site are going up, so it's like, oh, hey, at 50% off on a couple of those for Roll20. That's pretty cool. So if any of you guys are...
I mean, Kobold Press.
Yeah,
makes
they
good work.
really do. So, and any of our listeners, their DMs or players are interested in some quality third-party stuff, check out Kobold Press. If only they would sponsor us.
If only. Maybe someday.
Maybe one day. Yeah. And then we also got the Unearthed Arcana stuff from D&D Beyond. The playtest has been released, and we got new wizard, new fighter, weapon mastery, barbarian stuff. It's all out there, and it's about time they introduced weapon mastery to 5th edition. Like they're catching up to what older editions had already done and what Pathfinder had basically been doing already. So it's like, okay, you want to close that martial caster gap? This is a step in the right direction. Let the marshals be able to do special things with certain weapons. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, just more options to do things in general is always fun.
More reason to choose a certain weapon, too.
Yeah, I guess the running meme is...
Like, if I go into combat...
Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think that's why, like, Battle Master is the most popular, because they, like, for fighters, because they just have options. It's like they can do things. Whereas, like, some other options, it's like, okay, I attack.
Yeah.
That's it.
I attack again. Okay, I'm done.
What are you doing next turn?
Yeah,
Attack.
being able to do special stuff with your weapons is something that I integrated into my games quite some time ago, because I found some great homebrew for it. So like each weapon has like a couple different features. Like, oh, you want to pin someone down with a bow? Okay, sure. There's an ability for shoot their clothing. If you hit the DC just right, boom, they're pinned to something right next to them. Or maybe just little features like that, or a cleave like they had just added to the recent Unearthed Arcana. Just little features for weapons where you can stagger opponents, like things that make sense for the weapon in question. You know what I mean? I like to have those kind of things.
I agree.
And let's see here. Also, free shit alert.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
What is that?
Free shit.
I'm so confused.
Well, this is a separate thing entirely. D&D Beyond, for anyone that uses it still, although I'd imagine a lot of people are cutting ties with wizards after the OGL and sending assassins after people.
Woof.
Well, due to the recent movie thing, they're putting out digital dice, character sheets, and magic items, and more stuff from the D&D movie. So we're going to leave a link in the description below for anyone that's interested in that stuff. There's some cool magic items. So like, even if you're not too invested in wizards, it might be worth a little look and a download.
Hey, references and items.
Absolutely. And that wraps up what I got for our news this week.
Nice. Pretty good stuff. I mean, not wizard stuff, but everything else seems pretty good.
Absolutely. So, Josiah, do you have any homebrew? Well, actually, everything you got going is homebrew at this point. But anything like particular that you're really proud of that you want to show off?
I mean, pretty much what I'm working on right now is what I'm probably most proud of, which is all like the ancestry stuff.
Ooh.
I don't have like too much to show off beyond what I'm going to when I release it for like a playtest. I'm probably like halfway through the art I got to do. And then I'm just going to release it all publicly to get some feedback from Pathfinder community.
Nice.
And then probably go from there. Like, what am I at? Probably like a good 20, 30 pages to do or to release. So,
all right.
Nothing too much right this second, but you can obviously follow all my little scribbles and doodles on my Twitter, and that's pretty much the gist of a lot of what I'm working on.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody, check them out. See what the weight is going to be.
No, absolutely. I think when you're ready to release the playtest, you should absolutely come back on because I just love the whole candy aesthetic here. It's just so interesting. I guess that does lead me to one key question though. What is your favorite flavor?
My favorite flavor, favorite candies in general.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of Sour Patch Kids, even though they don't like me.
Let's go! Sour reign supreme!
It's one of those things where you eat them, but then you can't eat too much, or you won't be able to touch them for days.
Yeah.
Yeah, citric acid's a bitch sometime.
I have a, some would say, neglective relationship with sour candy. My mouth both likes and hates it.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Can't get enough.
Yeah.
Now hear me out, guys. Like little warhead grenades. Like you just throw one and it just
already did it.
Shit. You beat me to it. Yeah, I just love the idea of just like you take a little warhead, you throw it, and just acid everywhere.
Ooh.
That's the thing. It's just a warhead.
Yeah.
Like it's in the name.
It is. I mean, in retrospect, it was obvious. I'm not coming up with anything. I'm not treading new territory here.
Oh, no. It's one of those, once again, that's half the fun. Like, it's just looking up random things and being like, what can I do with that?
I highly recommend you check out some of the names for things in Viva Pinata, because, like, I guarantee there's going to be something that catches your eye and you'd be like, huh, that's it. That right there.
Well, I'm already probably going to steal, like, syrup.
Syrup.
I love it.
So good.
Dude, I gotta look up some of the Viva Pinata names because like they're just so good.
So Ryan, I would like you to roll a d20 for me.
Okay, I am far away from a d20 at the moment.
Oh my god!
You're gonna have to roll for me because I currently still have my baby attached to my chest because she's asleep.
Would you like the first or the second roll?
Give me the second roll.
It's a 15 for me. It's a 6. Oh, and it's a 9 for you. I will go first.
Oh wait, we gotta cue us in with our homebrew showcase stinger.
Oh, yes.
Generic realm, lots of fun, excellent.
All right, what do you got for us this week, Sam?
So good. So I thought it would be nice to keep the candy theme. So I picked I'm calling it a gummy golem, but it's a gummy creature construct. Created by a noble crumpet. That's the only name I could find for it. I'm not sure on what, but noble crumpet. Thank you for this entry.
All right.
Let's see. So, it says, gummy creatures are created by magic and are only a simulacrum of the creatures they represent. They look like an actual creature but are in fact made of living elemental gum candy, granting it unique resistances. Gummy creatures believe themselves to be real and try to act the part, mimicking things it can't normally do, like eating food. You can create a gummy creature using the following template. The creature retains its statistics except as described below. So, creature type. The creature's type changes to construct. Armor class. The creature's natural armor changes. Its base AC becomes 13 plus its dexterity when unarmored. Resistances and immunities. The gummy creature loses any existing damage resistances it has and gains resistance to bludgeoning damage, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons. The creature also gains immunity to one damage type as determined by its color. Red is fire, orange is acid, yellow is lightning, green is poison, and blue is cold.
Okay.
I think it sounds pretty cool.
I think there's some potential, like we were talking about it before the show, of kind of like you get those sour gummy worms where they're like half one color, half the other. If you do that, then you get like a little bit of both, and there's just the potential floor goes so much higher.
Gummy amalgam. You know?
Yeah.
Gummy monstrosity. Like
Absolutely.
Yeah, gummy fuck you.
Chimera.
The gummy chimera. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Carried away.
Gummy Gamera.
Gamera. So, it also has a bounce ability. The gummy creature's long jump is up to 30 feet, and its high jump is up to 15 feet, with or without a running start, because of their, elastic nature. They gain gummy weapons. The gummy creature's natural melee weapon attacks that deal piercing or slashing damage deal bludgeoning damage instead. A target that takes damage from one of these weapons is pushed 5 feet away from the creature. And the creature's rating increases by 1. So I have a example for you guys here. It's a red gummy owlbear. It is a large construct. Everything is as stated as before. It has gummy beak, which is a +7 to hit, 1d10 plus 5 bludgeoning damage, and is pushed away. So pretty good.
Okay. So beware the blue raspberry is what I'm getting here.
Yeah. There is also a sour gummy creature variant. In addition to the traits supplied by the gummy creature template, it gains the following. Sour. The gummy creature deals an additional 1d6 acid damage with each of its natural melee weapon attacks. Increase the creature's challenge rating by an additional 1.
It's funny that you say that, because how we were talking about Viva Pinata earlier. They also have sour pinatas, which are like bad pinatas. So it's like you'll be just minding your little pinata garden, and next thing you know, a sour sherbet shows up, or a sour shelly bean, or a sour mallow wolf.
There you go, perfect.
A sour crocodile.
I could see it. And just like I was saying before, these would be perfect for a, maybe you have a wizard who takes like a candy archmage path. I don't know. And they're able to craft these constructs of creatures.
Princess Bubblegum?
Yeah, Princess Bubblegum.
Yeah. So if there's gonna be all this candy, is there gonna be like a when we get an ooze setting? Is that we're gonna have all the elements lined up?
I don't see why not.
While you were going over that, I did pull up the Viva Pinata page.
Nice.
Because such great prolific names like the Moth Drop, the Mouse Mellow, the Mallow Wolf, Newtgat, a Flutterscotch,
nice.
Oh God,
a Badsicle. Let's see, a Bon Boon, a Bunny Comb, a Buzzle Gum. It just keeps going on, like Candary, a Chunicorn,
That's pretty
a
good.
Cinnamonkey, the Crocodile, of course, a Donut.
I'm not gonna lie, definitely names are what's gonna help draft the concept when I first start doing a bunch of monsters.
You just have so much fun with puns.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's like a fox one, a Pret's Tail.
Nice.
God.
So that finishes up my homebrew for this week.
All right. Well, this week I present to you yet another wonderful arrow from BJ Hypes. Big fan of the arrows. I'm just loving the stuff. Now, this is the red dot arrow. I'm pretty system agnostic, like I discussed earlier. When you knock this arrow, a red dot appears directly ahead of the arrow tip. This red dot is visible up to 1,000 feet away, allowing you to ignore the disadvantage caused by shooting at long range. You can knock the arrow without firing it, projecting the red dot, much to the enjoyment of cats and certain tabaxi.
Nice.
It's a laser pointer arrow. What do you want? It's just great.
That's definitely fitting.
Look, there's so many uses for a laser pointer.
Honestly, like, I don't care what setting you're in, whether it's fucking Star Wars, Forgotten Realms, whatever generic Pathfinder is, or like maybe you're playing post-apocalyptic, a laser pointer has so much utility. I don't care if it's attached to an arrow. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, no one said you have to use the bow.
Right?
You can just point the arrow. Oh shit!
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, I'm going to distract the guards.
Nice.
How are you going to do it? Don't worry, I got my trusty laser pointer. And then the people, they see a dot. It's like, oh, there's a dot. Quick, follow it.
The perfect distraction.
You stay here. I'm going to go check it out. Or, maybe a cat sees it. Like, oh, shit. Displacer beast sees the dot, goes after it.
Displacer beast.
Yeah, where are you going to be when you don't need one of these, honestly?
What else does it do?
Exactly.
I mean, it's an arrow, but it's a laser pointer. You got an arrow with a laser pointer taped to it. I mean,
what more do you need?
You expected more? This is everything. This is more than you need.
Sorry, I'm doubted your genius.
You forget this is a laser pointer.
The potential is endless.
Yeah. The limit is only your imagination and whether or not you have $1 at the dollar store. It is listed as a rare item, so that's kind of neat. I think there's a lot you can do there, and I think rare with the imagination of most players. Give them a laser pointer, shit's gonna run wild.
Oh man, players are essentially just children.
Give them a laser pointer. Give kids what they want.
Wise proverb. Give kids what they want.
It's brilliant. Now, Sam, I did want to introduce one new little short bit to the show this week.
Yes.
We talked about this before. The descriptive word of the week.
Yes, we plan to educate the masses.
Now, Josiah, do you ever find yourself like when you're trying to describe things to your players, like at a loss for a good descriptive word for something? Like maybe sometimes you just need something a little different outside of your typical vocabulary,
Oh yeah, all the time.
Well, I present to you forgettable. Now, this is forgettable as is implied, like easy to forget. Now, you might not normally think of it as a great descriptive word, but like picture, like your players are going around and they bump into a guy in this street, discreetly pickpockets them. One of your players gets a look at him. You just describe him. He's like, oh, he's average height, plain blue cloak, forgettable face. Got the brown hair, but a forgettable face. It's like very plain. Yeah.
It's not often you try to point out the ordinariness of something.
Exactly. Like it's
like that.
It's the kind of word where it's just like, okay, it looks very so mundane that you'd forget it if you didn't know to look at it. And even if you were looking for it, you're like, I can't tell the difference from one to the other.
Right. You look at them and you're like,
exactly.
Your vision just kind of slides over. They don't really stand out to you at all.
Yeah, and with describing a sketchy NPC, I feel like that could be something very powerful as a descriptive device. Really,
I agree.
Absolutely.
Or maybe like describing the terrain, or every once in a while, like I feel like that's something that could be a little different. And I think that's about all I got for us this week.
That has been Orion's word fact of the week.
Descriptive words with Orion. I'll have to workshop a stinger for that one. The list keeps piling.
All right, if that's all we have for this week, we will thank you, Josiah, for coming on. Happy to have you.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm loving the whole candy aesthetic, and we're going to drop a link below for everyone to check out your content and your art. He does some amazing stuff.
And for one more time, that's Josiah Doodles on Twitter. Right?
Yeah. Thank you all for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Everybody, please check him out.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks for listening to Dungeons and Talk Shows.
Absolutely. Josiah, have you considered making a Patreon?
I will probably do that maybe if I gain a little bit more following and have something to release. Like, I don't really want to make a Patreon if I'm not at the stage where I have something to like share with people enough. So
Fair enough.
I want to get like maybe my ancestry stuff done and like maybe like the majority of my book and all that.
Yeah, like maybe when you are ready for
for the
releasing playtest material, have like a Patreon with like just a general support $1 tier. Like, I feel like that'd be just enough.
Exactly. I want people to get like a taste of the setting first, get a feel for it, see if they like it. And if they do, then that gives them something more reason to support something.
Absolutely. Well, I'd be looking forward to definitely doing a little bit of playtesting on that at some point, if I could only find someone that does more Pathfinder stuff to run it, because my life's too chaotic.
That is definitely the hardest part. You just have to find enough people that all are willing to try it. So it's definitely fun.
Yeah.
But, obviously, a lot of people are either or type of people. I'm either 5E or I'm 2E.
I get that, absolutely. That's kind of why we got things going with our Discord server, because we got a whole bunch of people that do all kinds of different things. My brother's really excited to run a Power Rangers Las Vegas game.
I have no idea what that would even entail.
Well, neither does he, except the idea is like it's a Power Rangers game, but he wants to put the setting in Las Vegas, and it's just like you're taking like the typical Power Rangers, but you're setting it in the City of Sin. So I was like, okay, I think there's some potential there. Maybe one of the players decides to play a prostitute that becomes a Power Ranger. I don't know.
Yeah, never know.
I think it'd be really cool. And like have it all like themed after desert animals.
Definitely could be neat.
Anyway, I think we're good for that. Thanks for listening to the show, everyone, and have a great week. Thanks for listening to Dungeons and Talk Shows, brought to you by the Nerd Militia. Check us out on Patreon or Discord if you want to support us. And if you want to get more Nerd Militia content, you can follow us on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, and YouTube. Or really any of the usual podcasting platforms. But as always, we're nerds, so what do we know?